We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is one of my series regulars, Guy Devin. Guy has been involved with the natural foods profession for a long time, representing a number of companies as their national educator. Guy, welcome back to Here's to Your Health.
Josh, it's always great to be back.
Thank you. Happy to have you back. It's nice to have intelligent talk with you on the show.
Absolutely.
You now are teaching for this Actives company, which comes out of Utah.
Correct.
And how long has Actives been around?
Actives has been around for about 20 years.
Alrighty.
But the brand itself, Actives, has been only out there for about 5 years, and most recently launched into the general public retail distribution channel since September of last year.
Okay, so fairly new. And you have a variety of good products, brown rice protein, brewer's yeast, carrot powder. I'm sorry, not brewer's yeast, wheatgrass. Let's start with the wheatgrass, kind of a favorite of mine, an important green food. So if I was to come into your natural food store, why would I wish to use wheatgrass, and how would I use it?
Well, the great thing about this wheatgrass is, first of all, it's organic. It's non-GMO, grows in full sunlight, in full soil. A lot of wheatgrass out there is grown in trays. You have a lot of bacterial issues. And we harvest the wheatgrass right before it starts to shoot. This is very important. There's a lot of wheatgrass on the market. A lot of it is just powdered grass. This is actually juiced, which removes the offending enzymes that are very difficult for the human digestive system to digest.
Oh, I see.
So it gives it a very sweet flavor. And price per pound for the health benefit is very, very reasonable. As a state-of-the-art production really is what enhances this wheatgrass. So we use a very light wave technology. You have freeze drying, which is probably one of the best methods, but the moisture content is still about 12%. With our light wave technology that we have patented, the moisture content in here is less than 2%.
Oh, I see. All this new technology. I know none of this. So the advantage of yours is there's less water weight, and therefore it's more concentrated nutrient.
Right, and it's raw because it doesn't get above 105 degrees.
Okay.
The standard is 118 degrees. And what's brilliant about that is we have products sitting on the shelf in the home office right now that's going on 14 years with still it's 100% viable, all its enzymes intact, because the moisture content isn't in there. So that's
I did not know.
The technology targets specifics, just the water molecule. And that's the huge difference between our wheatgrass and, say, anybody else's. Plus, we're 50% less in our retail price than most of their discounted prices in the stores.
Oh, my goodness.
So you're looking around $15 or $16 retail.
Is this like a 6-ounce package?
That's 11.4 grams.
Okay, 4-ounce package. Okay, that does seem very reasonable. Guy, where do you have your PhD?
My PhD is in nutritional science. I'm also...
From which school?
Oh, integrative nutrition, University of Maryland, Rockville University in Maryland, and several other schools.
Do you ever work for the U.S. government?
Haven't worked for the U.S. government.
Okay. Don't they have a big agricultural station in Rockville, Maryland?
They do have a big station in Rockville, Maryland. Yeah, absolutely.
And so as a young guy, nutrition was your thing? You just thought, boom, I love this?
Well, really what it started for me was I'm a Vietnam vet.
Oh.
So as a Vietnam-era vet, got exposed to a lot of different things like Agent Orange.
Right.
And, napalm, and a lot of, because of my job as a jet mechanic, I was exposed to a lot of chemicals that are used around the planes and the equipment.
Oh my God, absolutely.
And so this kind of fried my respiratory system.
Even as a 18-year-old boy, you recognize this as bad?
Exactly. So when I came back and got out, I'm thinking, okay, I can't breathe. This is a
God,
problem.
No kidding. Wow.
So several different inhalers, several different oral prednisone and steroids and the like, which then just really can take you out in a hurry.
Right.
So looking for natural methods, and we're going back to the 70s now.
Right. It was a long time
This
ago.
is a long
Yeah,
time
for
ago.
sure, yeah.
So that's really what really put me on my path of looking at health and nutrition and how that can enhance my own experience for being able to breathe and minimize the use of a lot of the corticosteroids for inhalers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at other supplementation, that's kind of how the company came to life. Was Frank Davis, the owner of the company, very successful, very athletic. All of a sudden, he started having chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. He couldn't move, and 15 years ago, he was a healthy young guy, and then all of a sudden he lost his health. So he went on a search to find the best ingredients naturally that he can do for his body. And when he couldn't find what he was looking for, he said, you know what? I've got the wherewithal and the resources. I'm going to make my food. All the products in the active line, including the wheatgrass, what's really great about that is there are no synthetic chemicals anywhere in any of these products.
All right.
It's simply food.
All right.
Certified organic, non-GMO.
All right. And so you're 18-year-old. You're back from Vietnam. You're 20 now.
Yeah.
You got when you're 18. What year did you go in?
I went in 1971.
Okay. That was not a great year to go in, actually, was it?
No, I was the last draft.
Yeah.
So I'm born on August 3rd. My draft number was 3.
3.
It was like Kismet.
Right.
But
No,
it
3.
was-
You were going. Right. No.
Yeah, I was going
you were
regardless.
going, yeah.
But in actuality, it was really a very interesting experience and something I don't regret in my life. It was great to serve my country.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that Vietnam veterans didn't get the kind of service they get now and respect.
Right.
But the great thing is all that's changing. And there's great programs for the Wounded Warrior Project. There's a great program of Marines who've been in theater and have come out and created a Semper Fidelis Wellness Foundation that literally helps a lot of the vets. Most specifically, they won't turn any vet down, but it's primarily started by Marines for coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. So these are some of the products that they're really looking for to really bring real health and healing to these individuals that are suffering greatly. I mean,
Right.
as you know, the average American, after you're 60 to 65 years old, you're on 5 or 6 different, pharmaceutical
They are,
drugs.
and they think that's just perfectly hunky-dory. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, in the USA Today, there was right on the front page, 108,000 hospital beds for mentally challenged people. 40% of the adult population over 60 is dealing with serious mental illness. A lot of those are
Really? That's a brand new number. Really?
Yep. Right on the front page, today's USA Today. So these are very staggering statistics.
Right.
And when you think
Staggering,
about in the United States, we represent only 5% of the world population, yet we consume 80% of the psychiatric drugs in the world.
Really?
So what can we do to manage that response in the body?
Right.
We don't realize that our emotions play such a big part in the healing process. Right. So even though being a vet and being in theater and being exposed to post-traumatic stress, people probably don't realize this. They've never been in a war situation or anything like that, but they're experiencing post-traumatic stress every day. Hundreds of thousands of visual impressions, auditory impressions. There's 14 wars being waged on the planet right now. What are we going to do to take care of this overload emotionally, fight or flight syndrome in the body, and how does that react to our biochemical reactions in the body?
Well, I think, today, the listeners who are hearing us today on LA Talk Live, many of them would think, oh yeah, Guy and Josh, we understand what they're talking about, the whole emotional connection, body connection. I think it was Abraham Hoffer in 1951 who was using niacin successfully for schizophrenic patients. And that was, I guess, very radical at the time,
Right.
And maybe to some people it's still radical. And now we realize, oh no, nutrition is not the only factor. It's not the only factor for sure. Human beings are very complicated.
Right.
If you served in Vietnam, you saw terrible stuff. Nutrition is great, but it's only part of it. You need counseling. You need many things. You need support of your peers, understanding of your peers, and loved ones. You need a lot of stuff. But nutrition is an issue. You have a guy who's depressed and he's drinking. He's drinking a lot of alcohol. That turns out to be bad for him. Not spiritually. No, physically. It's bad. It's bad for you. You're depressed. You're drinking alcohol. It's not a good idea. You're drinking Coca-Cola, not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. It's like sleeping 3 hours every night and going to work, or sleeping 8 hours the next day and going to work. You do 3 hours of sleep, you can get through the day, but you're not at your best. You can get through the day, but So it's really kind of, that's what I like about nutrition. It's very much like that. It's not very glamorous. It's really kind of pedestrian. It's very easy to implement. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. It's just real simple.
Yeah, you just have to trust the process. And the thing to trust is your food. Mm-hmm. However, now our food, it's not that meat is bad. Right. It's what we've done to the meat. Right. It's not that certain food is bad. It's what we've done to the food. So getting all these chemicals and additives and flavorings and all that out of our food is really important.
Right.
Why not just do food?
Right. Food is
now,
great.
Like you and like me, probably you have as many juicers on your counter as I do.
Actually, I have 2 old Acmes at home, and sometimes when I say the name Acme to young people, they laugh.
Acme?
They think I'm talking about Roadrunner cartoons.
Right,
Acme.
exactly.
They don't even use the term anymore. Acme. They're from the 70s, and they work great, and I still got them.
Right.
I feel slightly dated in that there are so many new juicers now that have real kind of modern shapes. Mine is an old juicer, so whatever.
But the joyous thing about using a juicer is the joy of cleaning it after you're done.
Well, it's a commitment of time.
And the prep and the
mm-hmm.
processing of that food as you're using a juicer. So here, we've made it basically a little bit better than food.
Right, made it easier, for sure.
So think about this. You can have all that produce in your home now.
Right.
Make it very easy. There's no spoilage.
Right.
And you just add water.
Right. That seems good. Now, by the way, on wheatgrass, let's say, I'm listening to your broadcast that you speak today, and I think, okay, wheatgrass, good. I'll get some wheatgrass. How much wheatgrass do I really need per day?
You need 1 serving a day,
it's like
quite frankly.
A teaspoon?
Yeah. And depending on what your situation is, wheatgrass is really great at purifying the blood and leaching out some of the heavy metals that might be built up in your tissue. So there's lots of great purposes for the wheatgrass. Probably one way that people wouldn't think about this is make the wheatgrass juice, put it in a bottle, and do an enema with it.
Okay.
Because a lot of those heavy metals tend to accumulate, unfortunately, around the anus. And so we want to pull that out. And that's where people that have, a lot of itching, a lot of hemorrhoid issues, that's one of the main culprits.
Heavy metals.
Heavy metals.
And tell my audience what heavy metals are.
Heavy metals would be like lead, cadmium, and now we have to think about Fukushima. That is already reaching the West Coast here.
Right, unfortunately. Yeah.
So there's a lot of heavy metal radiation, cesium-131, 154. Mm-hmm. So keeping the body cleansed every day is really what's an important part. And rather than some of the clean slate therapy that's out there, you can use the powders like the wheatgrass juice. We also have a kale. We have a spinach.
You do, really?
Yeah, so you can combine those in any number of different ways. And one of the best ways is to use that as a daily detox. This makes it more joyful, gentle, easy, and effortless to keep cleansing the body rather than to do these harsh cleanses that tend to be out there.
That's true. There's a lot of approaches. This seems good. All right, now you also have a carrot powder. Pretty much everyone knows what carrot juice is. So is this kind of carrot juice?
It's carrot juice in a powder form. Uh-huh. Lots of different ways to use these food powders that people haven't thought of. Have you ever bought a cereal and saw that it was fortified on the panel?
Yes.
So now you can take your own personal food that you're cooking with, add these powders to your food, and fortify your food with really good, healthy, organic, non-GMO
That sounds good.
food.
That sounds good.
And if you go to the website, actives.com, what you'll find is we have a recipe tab, and we have a personal chef in-house for the company that's every day creating 10 to 20 different recipes to use all the different products, all the food powders. We have 11 different food powders.
Now, before we went on the air today, I noticed on the panel behind the Actives products that these are certified organic by the state of Utah.
Correct.
And when did the state, which I think is a great idea, when did the state begin to certify?
The state of Utah started certifying their foods and farms probably about 25, 30 years ago.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh, my goodness.
The one thing about the population there, they're really big on making sure that they have a stockpile of food.
Yes.
God forbid anything should happen.
Yes, that's one thing about yes. In Utah, they're into survival stuff, and also many of them careful eaters.
Absolutely.
Careful eaters, right.
Yeah, no Coke, no coffee, those kind of things.
No alcohol. Right.
They don't do alcohol. And when you think about alcohol, Josh, we think, alcohol can have a major effect on the liver, creating cirrhosis of the liver.
Right, for sure.
But people don't realize the amount of carbohydrates they're eating in a day react the same way on the liver, and you can create cirrhosis of the liver without ever touching a drink.
You mean
just by the amount
of a lot of soda down or something?
Right, sodas, the glucose that gets produced, fatty liver syndrome as a result of that glucose. So if the body can't convert it, pretty major experience you're going to have.
Right. Yeah, some of this stuff, after you know it and you experiment with the ideas, you realize they do work. They just very successful using nutrition as a therapy. And so when you got out of Vietnam, so you then immediately went to school, worked on your undergraduate?
Well, I kind of floated around for a little bit, being a young guy. It's
Right.
like, okay, what do I want to do now?
Right.
But then I used my GI Bill to put me through school. And I was fortunate, while I was still in the Marine Corps, they had an overseas
You did
college
2 years in the
program.
Marines, 3 years in the Marines?
6 years.
You did 6 years in the
Yeah.
Marines. Oh, my goodness.
6 years. So they had a...
You signed on when you were 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right before graduating high school.
Okay.
So I was in the reserves first and then right into.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens, they had a special program for the University of Maryland. So that's how I got my schooling, a lot of my schooling.
And you had kind of a science interest, is that it?
Yeah, I was actually, starting out, I was more architectural, engineering kind of a guy, but the health issue was a major thing. So just flipping that around.
And so what, you suddenly bumped into a book that you read in 1972 or 3 or 4, is that it? And you thought, oh my God, was it Erola? I mean, who did you read in those days that you thought, Gary Null had books out in those days? I mean, who were you reading, can I ask?
Actually, the very first book that really put me on this path was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, believe it or not.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Napoleon Hill, okay, fine.
And then moving into Dennis Waitley and
Oh my goodness, I remember
Og
those.
Mandino.
Those men
and
from the
these
60s
kind
and
of
70s.
guys.
Oh, I remember those
Exactly.
motivational
Earl
speakers for
Nightingale.
sure. Earl Nightingale, right?
And, they were always big mentors for me because they were always about health as well.
Right.
And then when you think about companies like Nature's Aid and Royal, and, Royal Nutrition was like one of the first companies.
No, I'm sorry, I did not know Royal.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
So
I know Royal Lee, who's the formulator
Royal
for
Lee, that's what
Standard
I'm-
Process.
Yeah, but even before Royal Lee.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so it goes way back there. So just my own desire for health and healing, that started me on the path. Also reading several books on energy and quantum physics and understanding that we're 99% energy and 1% matter. So we ought to focus on that energetic side. So what nutrition can I put into my body that's going to bring my vibration to the highest possible level?
Right.
And then we have this concept, if I have an issue with energy and that I don't have any energy,
Right.
it's not because I have a Starbucks deficiency.
Right.
It's because my adrenals, the kidneys, the hypothalamus, that whole adrenal complex and adrenal stress is very much emotionally and energetically based. So I started doing a lot of reading on Eastern, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, getting into the herbs, and then it just goes on from there. Spending a year in my internship doing thousands of people's blood and looking at probiotics and enzymes specifically and how critical those are to life in the body,
Right.
and developing those from food. And so when I came across Active, I go, finally, somebody's got it right. I want to be a part of this. So I kind of bullied my way in.
And they were happy to work with you. They thought, oh,
Absolutely,
okay, they want
yeah.
like your credentials and your background in
Right.
wellness. Oh, yeah. It's nice to
Exactly.
fit in. It's very nice to fit in.
So, having worked for some of the better known food brands.
Yeah, you've worked. Yeah. I know you
So
have.
thinking of New Chapter and,
Right.
those kind of companies. So now really to have food, literally food,
Mm-hmm.
that's has no chemicals in it whatsoever.
Well,
It's
that's
pretty
that,
amazing.
That seems like very good technology too. So it's nice that technology can maybe get us in trouble and also maybe get us out of trouble.
Right.
It's nice. Now you also have a protein shake. Now protein shakes very popular. People like them. These are brown rice protein shakes.
One is a rice and one is a whey.
Okay, rice and whey.
And the reason we have both, Josh, is really important because for those people who are bodybuilders, whey has the highest biological value of protein for the body. Rice, pea, hemp, those are kind of on the lower scale. Mother's milk is 96% bioavailable.
Oh.
Whey protein is 98. This rice protein is around 90. So we want to give people who are vegan and vegetarian the plant-based, and we want to give people who are more O blood types and that who really like meat. And the great thing about this whey, it's totally grass-fed from start to finish.
Oh, that's good.
So that's a real important part because it's not that whey protein is bad, but it's what those cows have been eating, what they've been filled with, RBGHT, antibiotics, those kind of things.
Right.
That's what makes it different.
So grass-fed. Okay, so that's really terribly progressive. Well, okay. And what's the name of this company again?
Actives.
And how do I get in contact with this group, this Actives?
The Actives, you
Yeah.
can go online to actives.com, and that's ACTIVZ.com.
Well, they seem to have some intelligent products. Now, if I use the whey protein, what's one of the good ways for me to use whey protein? Should I have that for breakfast? Should I use it when I go to the gym, when I come back from the gym? What's the good time? And how much do I need, really?
Well, you need one serving. For if you wanted to adjust your weight, maybe
Yeah.
do supplement 2 meals with it. If you want to really increase brain cognition and brain focus, doing it first thing in the morning, doing a shake before you go to the gym and work out, it's real important to do it at those times.
If I do 1 scoop, I get 20 grams. Is that it?
Yes,
And 20 grams is plenty, right?
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is you have 2 proteins, whether it's the whey or whether it's the rice, either has 6 ingredients or 8 ingredients. So it's not filled with a lot of stuff so that your body can actually utilize. We talk a lot about absorption. I can eat the rug and I'll absorb 100% of this carpet, but what will get into
Right.
this cell?
Right.
That's what's most important. Utilization. That's the important
Right.
factor.
The body has
there.
to be able to utilize it.
Exactly.
Now, on the brown rice protein, so that's for the people who think, no, we don't want whey protein. For whatever reason, they don't want whey
Yeah,
protein.
whatever.
And brown rice protein is a very good choice.
It's a great choice,
Mm-hmm.
has one of the highest biological values, as I said. Now, the issue is we're using rice that's domestic. So we're not
Oh.
getting rice from China. And it's not that China's bad, but
Right.
just some of their processes over there,
Yeah,
you
they're less-
don't always
less-
get
right.
the cleanest product.
Yeah, I
from
think
that
I think that's
area.
a fair thing to say. I mean, we have more better regulation in the United States. We could maybe have even better regulation, but the Chinese, not to cast aspersions, but they seem to have
Right.
problems at this time with that.
Right. And people don't realize this. We grow more rice in the United States and actually in California than anywhere else in the world.
Right. Yeah, we have great rice. Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I had Ross Coda on once. He's 3rd generation rice farmer, 4th generation rice farmer, I think, and he was great. We talked about all his rice. Everyone likes rice, and if I use the brown rice protein, once again, how much in a serving and how much should I use?
You're looking at about 18 to 20 grams of protein. And again, 1 serving. There's a scoop inside every one, so it's the perfect serving size.
And I always like to ask this question: if I am going to be a healthy guy, and how much protein does a healthy man or woman, over the age of 18, need in general? That's a broad question.
Josh, it's a really good question. And certainly it goes anywhere from 30 grams of protein a day to as high as 300 grams. It depends on
Really?
who you're talking to and what their belief system is. Now, if you're a major bodybuilder, take an Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, Frank Zane, all these great bodybuilders,
Right.
They're probably doing in the neighborhood of 300 to 400 grams of protein a day.
And because they really were looking for that specific
Right.
look. They were,
Exactly.
okay, right. Okay,
So
that's
the
not-
amount of amino acids in there, and especially the branched chain amino acids,
Yeah.
when you're that fast twitch muscle fiber, when you're trying to break that down and rebuild it, break it down, rebuild it, you need that kind of repair process happening. And of course, the whole topic of bodybuilding has just off the charts in what's available
Yeah.
from a more natural perspective now. That's becoming more awareness developing around using, food for building protein
Right.
as opposed to stacking things within a protein molecule and
Right.
those kind of things. So
Now, so the 300 is on the extreme end for Franco Columbu, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, Lou Ferrigno. Okay, so what about for you and I as mature men who work all the time? Let's say men in their 50s, 60s, women in their 50s, 60s. How much protein do we need to be, healthy, athletic, work all the time?
in my opinion, you're looking at somewhere between 40 and 80 grams
Okay, 40
of
and
protein.
80. Okay, so that's actually pretty easy to get. If I eat a soft-boiled egg, I get 6 grams.
Right.
Right. So 40 to 80 seems good, and I'm supposed to get that and divide it like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Break
Yep.
up the protein.
Divide that over, and maybe you want to supplement with 1 or 2 shakes a day. And the great thing with the shakes, they're not going to fill you up per se, but it's going to give you the dense nutrient protein that the body's looking for. And as we're aging, really, protein becomes really an issue for those of us that are aging, especially to keep lean muscle tissue on, to continue the body to help produce MSM, to produce glucosamine, to produce CoQ10, these kind of things. Adding into that fact, we need a lot of essential fatty acids as we're aging in conjunction with the protein. So it's not just a hard, fast rule of, okay, this is the amount that everybody needs.
Gotcha.
You have to look at your lifestyle and how much activity you're doing or not doing. So
Okay, so the protein issue, it's a question. Everyone has their perspective on it. Obviously, we do need protein. Now, you also have a multivitamin called 9 a day. It says whole food on that. What exactly does that mean, whole food? And why do you call this 9 a day?
well, it's 9 a day because it's 9 servings of fruits and vegetables.
Oh, I see.
That's why it's a 9 a day.
In a capsule.
Actually, in 9 capsules.
In 9 capsules, okay.
So you can look at each capsule as being a serving of fruit and vegetables.
Okay, nice idea.
Because to get that amount of servings, which is what the CDC, the FDA, the World Health Organization is suggesting that we need, you couldn't get all that material in one capsule.
Right.
And that's where people have to change their thought process. I just want to take a 1 a day. Well, here's a question for you.
Right.
Do you eat more than once a day?
Right.
You probably do.
Mm-hmm.
So you need nutrition all throughout the day.
Right.
So you can do this 9 and split it up over the whole day. You're going to get your 9 servings of fruit and
So
vegetables.
say 3 breakfast, 3 lunch, 3 dinner, or
Yeah,
3 breakfast, 3 dinner,
exactly.
3 before you went to bed.
Right.
Yeah. Because sometimes the problem is the implementation. People think, okay, great, yeah, we would take 9 a day, but I have a job to do. I can't just take vitamins all
Right.
day. So I'll just do it once in the morning. That's it. So compliance is an issue.
Right. So think about this as well. So we're eating more than once a day.
Right.
Our body's organs turn on and off at different parts of the day. So we want to maintain that level of nutrition all throughout the day.
Right.
So that's what a meal is producing. That's why you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because you're given nutrition, right? So if you can sustain that energy and sustain nutrients throughout your whole day, A, you're going to detoxify on a daily basis.
Right.
B, you're going to give yourself super nutrition on a daily basis. And your body's going to function just fine. So if we can take our belief system out of the picture, thinking that we need Kentucky Hut or, any of these other kind of,
Right.
We
learned to eat that.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
Could learn
So
something else. Yeah.
actually your body's looking for nutrition. So
Right.
what's the highest vibing food that you can put in the body that's going to sustain optimal health and wellness?
Right.
It doesn't get any easier than this.
No, you have to bump into the information. I remember as a teenage boy, I drank so much soda in retrospect.
Oh, yeah. Growing up.
And I just thought, this is great. It never thought to me, food is a healing tool. Never thought about it. And as soon as someone told me about nutrition, from one day to the next, I made a complete shift. And I thought, great. It just made sense to me. Someone told me. And I thought, oh, okay. Because it never dawned on me that food affected my health as a teenage boy. Anything it gave me, I ate it. I liked everything. Fine. But as soon as I heard that, oh, no, here's why it's an issue, I thought, okay. And it seemed so easy. I just lucked out on that one. It was just easy to do.
Yeah. And the great thing is we can all get better at that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to provide a way as a company to help people transition into a healthier lifestyle. And, letting go of our judgments and our personal perceptions and whatever, and just put food in the body.
Right.
Some smart person a long time ago said, let food be your medicine, let medicine be your food. I think it was Hippocrates.
I think it was Hippocrates.
Yeah.
Might have been Henny Youngman. No, but I think it was Hippocrates. And now people recognize, oh yeah. It's not everyone, but most people realize, oh yes, okay, food is important. We'll try to eat a little fresher food. But people have their own definition of what fresh food is. Some people do think that, they go to Taco Bell and say, no, Taco Bell, that seems like a good choice. And, maybe there are better choices. And by the way, just so while we're on it, you also have beet juice powder. And how would I use that? Just taste good?
Just add water.
Yeah, beet juice powder.
And
great.
We think being in this industry that there has to be this technical scientific thing. It's beets. They're good for you. Put them in your body.
That's a guy. I like the way you say that. Right.
And the great thing about beets, it's dealing with sugar, so it helps to control those sugar cravings.
Mm-hmm. I also like beets too. Guy Devin, it's been a pleasure. How can we contact you at Actives, and where can I buy Actives?
You can buy Actives at most of your Better Health Food stores right now. We're just really getting out there and reaching into the market. A lot of the stores like Lassen's and your Better stores are carrying the product. That's my job, getting out there and getting into as many locations as we possibly can. You can reach me at Dr. Guy Devin at mac.com, mac.com.
Let me have that once again.
Dr. Guy Devin at mac.com.
Okay, great. Well, Guy, it's been fun. Thank you very much.
Josh, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Fun. You've been listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. My guest has been Dr. Guy Devin. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Hilton Ezra, who has been a guest on Here's to Your Health before. Hilton hails from South Africa, and as the world has become very international, there are wellness products from all over the globe that are popular now in the United States, and Hilton has some of those products. Hilton, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you.
Happy to have you on.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Now, you are from South Africa, and would you say that South Africa has an interest in wellness as far as, lifestyle?
Oh, yes, definitely. There's a big move towards it in South Africa. There are a lot of manufacturers of health food products, and I represent one of those companies here.
And you'd say that in general, you were born in South Africa?
Yes.
So you say people that exercise there, eat carefully, there's an interest?
Oh, definitely. There's several manufacturers of people. There's more an awareness now than there ever was before of looking after your health, taking the right foods, and in general taking care of yourself. So I moved to America several years ago, and I've established a series of products here, of which we have one here, and I am intending to get this into the market.
So the product that we see on camera is called Handela.
Yeah.
Which and this is a homeopathic product.
Absolutely.
So because I've looked at this product, so all the ingredients here are just homeopathic products, and homeopathic products in the United States are regulated as drugs by the FDA and have been so since 1938, and so you can make specific claims for them. So this product is just good. It says immune system supports if I had a bad cold or I had a flu, if I have a sinus headache or kind of feel run down. This actually could be one of the appropriate things I could use.
Absolutely, and it does a lot of other things. It's very good for your general health. It has helped in many types of health conditions. It's cleared up some opportunistic diseases and infections. You can't guarantee anything,
Right.
But it's been tremendous help. That's why I brought this product here, because it was so successful in South Africa.
Well, homeopathy started in Europe a couple of centuries ago, in Germany. So South Africa being started by the Dutch and then later the British, so I guess the Europeans just brought with them their systems of healing, and homeopathy was kind of a new thing for the United States 15 or so years ago. Now it seems pretty mainstream. But I guess the Europeans, it never seemed like a big deal to them anyway. Just like, well, what's the big deal? We've done this for a couple of hundred years. It's kind of like, okay, fine. It's not very exotic.
Yes, of course, it's been going long before it got going here. But of course, a lot of people came over from Europe to America. They also were aware of these things. But the European countries are very well aware of these products and their uses. And it's been developed, product like this has been developed over several years. And it's been in use for several years, and it's had fantastic results.
Now, I noticed on this Handela, it says I should tap the bottle 10 times and then put 10 drops in like a little bit of water or something.
Yeah, under your tongue, or in water.
And what's the reason for the tapping? Why do I need tapping?
Well, it's a suspension. You have to mix it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's like having a bottle of orange juice with a pulp, and it all sinks to the bottom. You have to shake it to mix it before you drink it to get the best taste out of it. Same with this. You have to mix it. It just takes a few seconds.
So 10 drops 3 times a day, I should use this. If I was feeling kind of lots of
half an hour before meals. It's best to take it a half an hour before you eat. And the results are quite astounding.
And sometimes with these homeopathic products, let's say a person feels just, to speak broad, let's say someone feels very run down. They just have been working a lot or playing a lot of sports. They feel kind of run down. So if they did like 10 drops 3 times a day, based on your experience for that very broad question, sometimes within a week, people think, we feel better in a week. Is that it?
Oh, yeah. In fact, there are a lot of conditions would clear up. It's cleared up conditions like gout, migraines, and a lot of quite serious conditions. It's cleared up. I'm not allowed to put that on the bottle.
It's okay, no problem. I can stay out of jail. But of course, homeopathy, again, so for the listening audience, homeopathy is regulated by the U.S. government, by the FDA, as drugs, and so you can make specific claims, and that's been so since 1938. That's why when you go into the natural food stores or into the CVS or any, because everybody carries these now, they make specific claims. This is good for cold. This is for bruising. This is for, so. And in the United States, I have a health food store, in Agoura Hills, very close to Malibu. People do a lot of elective surgery. They're having something cut or changed, whatever, and the plastic surgeons recommend Arnica montana to speed up the healing process so they have less bruising, less puffy. I sell tons of Arnica montana, and all the natural food stores do because the surgeons recommend it. It's just very mainstream.
Oh, yes, and as a matter of fact, I've used that product myself once upon a time. It's a good product. This is also an excellent product. We are getting certain permission to put certain claims on the bottle. I can't do that right now. The product can be sold as it is now, but once I have those passed by the FDA, I will be putting them on the bottle, and then there will be some quite surprising claims on there, which have been substantiated over many years of use. It's not something that started the other day. It's a well-established product.
So again, in South Africa, this product is pretty widely used. Is that it? That's been your experience with it. That's how you found out about it.
Yes, absolutely. That's how I found out about it, and I took over the product internationally, and they were selling it under a different name, which we can't go into right now. And the product is mine to establish.
Sure, very good.
Yeah. So.
And by the way, if someone was to buy a bottle of this, of the Handela Immune System Support, this is 2 ounces. No, I'm sorry, it's 1 ounce. I'm sorry, 50 milliliters. Close there, 50 milliliters. And I tap it. I do 10 drops 3 times a day. This will last me about a month?
Yes, it will last you about a month.
About a month. And certainly I could see good results in a month or less. It's hard to, but pretty quickly, right?
Very quickly.
Okay, that's impressive. Because people need to know, if people say, Hilton, okay, listen, if I buy this, if I use the Handela, when can I see something? And it's not going to take 6 months. Based on your experience, in a week or so, people think, yeah, I feel a little better. Is that it? Okay.
Absolutely right. In a week or so, they will should notice a substantial difference. It cannot. I'm not saying that this will cure and solve everybody's medical problems.
Right. You're not going to say it's going to grow hair.
No.
Okay, very good.
I'm
It's
not
too bad. We
gonna
can make
say-
a lot of money on that if it did, really. But okay, no, it doesn't.
Telling me.
That's right.
But it does a lot, and at the appropriate time I will be putting that on the bottle once I've cleared up a few things that I have to do. But it makes a big difference to your health.
Because I notice you have Apis in here, which Apis is one of the important homeopathic products for inflammation. You also have Echinacea in here, which obviously is important. So this is just a nice, intelligent, well-rounded formulation of homeopathic items that are in wide use in the United States, and obviously they're in wide use in South Africa.
It's the formulation that counts.
Oh, of course, it's the formulation. And so, did you have was there a pharmacist or physician in California, in South Africa, that kind of originally came up with this? Do you know the origin?
There was a group of people that put this together, and
It's exciting. Don't worry about that. Don't just turn that right off. Yeah, it's live radio. Don't worry about it.
To my knowledge, I'm not just precisely sure, but there was a group of scientists, laboratories, and people who are well versed with homeopathy who put this together over a number of years. It wasn't great from day one, but over the years they developed it and they perfected it. And a lot of people take this for their general well-being and good health.
Mm-hmm.
Just to sustain their good health. You don't have to wait till something goes wrong with you before you take something.
Right.
You can take something to prevent things going wrong. You don't necessarily have to wait till you've got gout or something. But as I say, I can't make a specific claim it'll stop your migraines. It has done that.
Right.
Oh, it definitely has done that. But
okay.
May not do that for everybody.
Right.
I don't think any product can claim that, actually.
Right.
They can,
that's true.
in every single person, cure a certain ailment.
Right.
Yes. So this is it's really wonderful product.
Handela. Alrighty.
Handela. Yeah.
And you use this yourself successfully? You feel good when you take the product?
Every day I take it.
And was there any particular health concern that you had that you might have mentioned to the audience that you kind of helped with?
I have to be honest, there's nothing wrong. But maybe there's nothing
Well, that's good because you take care of yourself, so you're a healthy guy.
Yeah, well, right. I eat well and I do things well. And maybe, of course, this has helped.
Right.
Since nothing's gone wrong, I can't say it corrected anything. But I'm perfectly healthy. I'm nearly 70 years old. I'm fine.
Well, thank you very much. Hilton Ezra from South Africa bringing in a new product called Handela, a homeopathic item, which you hopefully will see soon in your friendly neighborhood natural food store. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. This is Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest, calling in from her home in San Francisco, is the author Mariel Schwartz, who has a book, The Family Food Allergy Book. Mariel, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Josh. Hello.
Hello. Did I pronounce your first name correctly?
Yes.
Oh, very good. I'm happy I did that. Now, Ms. Schwartz, your book talks about allergies. Now, allergies engage people's thought these days. People recognize, there's a problem with allergy in some people. And how did you decide to research and write this book?
Well, the book, The Family Food Allergy Book, is based on my own personal life experience with food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
I was born severely allergic to fish, and my own fish allergy is so severe that even aerosolized protein in the air, just a whiff, can cause my body to overreact. And I've become so overwhelmed just by the vapors of airborne fish proteins that I've even been forced to rush to the emergency room for immediate life-saving medical help.
Wow.
So in 2007, I founded the Bay Area Allergy Advisory Board. We are in our 7th proud year, adhering to our mission to promote education, awareness, and to provide no-cost medical care and medication to families at all income levels with severely food allergic children. I think the thing that people don't always think about with a condition so life-threatening is that it's still possible to survive and thrive with this medical condition, and that's what my book intensely focuses on, that it's absolutely possible to live a full, active life with your food allergies. And chapter by chapter, it's full of step-by-step guidelines on how to do exactly that.
Ms. Schwartz, I have a question for you. When you were severely allergic to fish as a young girl, did your mom and dad realize that right away, or did you do a lot of suffering first?
Well, the face of food allergy has changed dramatically. And so it was not as easy of a leap as it is these days.
Mm-hmm.
Food allergies are on the rise. They're currently the 5th leading cause of chronic illness in the United States. And to date, scientists estimate that approximately 12 million Americans suffer from food allergies. And the problem's only getting worse. Now, these are figures and facts that are very readily available today. But, more than 30 years ago, it was a very different profile. And so it was a series of these accidents and reactions back before the food labeling laws, and everything was very trial and error. So it took quite a while, many, many years, to determine that this was a food allergy.
I see. So as a teenage girl, did you do a lot of suffering before you realized, gee, Mom, I really can't eat any fish at all? Is that it? You finally realized?
Yeah. You got it. Yep, that's exactly right. I remember once in high school, I had a tortilla chip that I dipped into a dip and put it into my mouth, and it was a salmon dip. And I vividly recall step by step, that was when I realized the full extent of food allergies. I think people think it can be hives or itching, but, in fact, it can become quite severe with trouble breathing and wheezing. That was in my case. Loss of consciousness, a sudden drop of blood pressure. I think people don't always understand that a food allergy can be potentially fatal.
Yes, it certainly can. Now, there's much discussion these days, you see it in the popular press, about peanut allergies, about allergies to gluten. Can you comment on the gluten allergy discussion?
I sure can. Now, the gluten celiac disease is slightly different than a true wheat allergy. So there are the top big 8 food allergens that account for 90% of all food allergic reactions in the United States. Those include wheat. Then there's milk, egg, soy, peanuts and tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. Now, what's also become very prevalent is this celiac disease. Sometimes it's called celiac sprue, and that's an autoimmune disorder of the stomach lining. So you can definitely have a very different set of symptoms that sometimes can present as an allergy, but the full scope of celiac disease can range from anything from loss of hair to distinctive stomach difficulties and abdominal abnormalities. It's a little bit different than a wheat allergy.
I see. Alrighty. And do you, based on your experience with your own health and with your family's health, and as a teacher and a guide for people with this subject, do you think that many people indeed are best to avoid wheat, or do you feel that the discussion has been overblown in some way?
You know, that's a great question, because I think that even with all of this awareness, there tends to still be sometimes this insensitivity from those around us who are suffering with these chronic medical conditions. And absolutely, strict avoidance of any food that makes you feel unwell should be supported by the community around you, fully respected at dining tables everywhere, from your best friend's house to a restaurant table. Absolutely, strict avoidance is key when your body is responding adversely to these proteins.
Now, what foods could you tell the listening audience, in your opinion, are problematic for a big percentage of us? For example, cow's milk. How much of a problem, in your opinion, do you see with your clients?
We tend to see, like you had said, the peanut allergy and the tree nut allergy. Next, I would say, is the shellfish, and after that, we see a lot of egg allergy. 90% of all food allergic reactions in the United States are to the milk, egg, wheat, soy, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish.
Right. Now, those are a lot of foods. You just mentioned, a lot of foods that people might think, gee, we like all this. And may I ask a question? Do you think it's possible that some of the allergies that people have to, say, peanuts or even to milk, that the problem could be the quality of the product? That is, the peanuts might be so heavily sprayed with pesticides that indeed the reaction is really to the pesticides in addition to the peanuts, or that the quality of the milk, because the cows are given synthetics and hormones, that the problem indeed is from the way the milk cattle are produced? Is that an additional cofactor?
Agreed. Absolutely. I believe that quality control will exacerbate already and overstimulate already an immune system that is poised to have this sort of reaction. And to that end, there's been a lot of talk within the food allergy community as of late of this GMO theory to help explain why food allergies have become so increasingly commonplace. And with these being introduced into our food supply, for example, it's possible to insert genes that can make a plant resistant to specific diseases or insects, or improve how it ripens. These scientific regulatory oversight bodies in the world, they conclude that the GMOs pose no harm, and there are no technically documented ill effects. But with this attention to the toxicity like you describe and nutrition in general, it's a prevailing emerging theory, and I will be very, very curious to see how this develops.
Now, on the GMOs, I do know that the European Union, the industrialized nations of Europe, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, England, France, they have banned GMOs. Their scientists feel they are not safe. In the United States, unfortunately, we seem to have them, Monsanto being terribly powerful. But in Europe, in Germany and other industrialized nations, they don't allow it. So I guess their scientists feel that, no, it's not safe. And also, it's funny that in this country, if you want to put it on a label that has a GMO in it, consumers have a right to know. And yet, for some reason, you're not allowed to put that on the label. That does seem wrong.
I agree. Yeah, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has its own way of regulating this sort of issue. And again, I'd be curious to see how this changes and evolves over the next even year or two. I imagine there'll be some distinct changes.
So, Ms. Schwartz, your book, the Family Food Allergy Book, where can I buy a copy of that?
It's available at bookstores nationwide, and the Family Food Allergy book is also super easy to purchase just on Amazon.com.
And where is your group? You have an active group up in the Bay Area?
We do. Our group is based in San Francisco, California.
And give us the contact info.
Absolutely. It's easy to remember. Our website is AllergySF, as in AllergySanFrancisco.com. AllergySF.com.
That sounds very good. Now, let's speak about soy foods. Now, some people like to attack soy in general. Others like to say, no, some soy foods, such as miso, fermented soybean paste, are great to use. Some people feel that the problem really is the GMO, that 90% of all soybeans sold in the United States are genetically modified. What has been your experience with your colleagues and students about the use of soy?
That's a great question because soy is so pervasive. You have mentioned edible forms of soy, but I challenge all the listeners to think about all the other forms of soy. For example, in printer ink, in paints, in bedding. So the soy issue is pervasive. It's sneaky and can be one of the most hidden allergens out there.
Wow. I did not realize it was in, paint and things. I had no idea. Wow.
Even printer ink.
Printer ink, yeah, printer. I hadn't heard that. So what's your thinking about soy, that you see that it is an issue for a lot of your friends and colleagues?
I do. And the interesting thing about food allergies is that one person's sort of safe food is another person's poison. And so there's a balance that we are always trying to find. I know that some of the nut allergic clients that we have are highly dependent on soy nut butter to look like peanut butter and to have the protein sandwich they can send little Timmy off to school with, for example. So it's a balancing act of sort of necessary ways to circumvent one food for another. And in some cases, that soy is used as a crunch, as a seasoning, as a flavor, when something similar to it is just too dangerous for someone suffering from a food allergy.
I see. And Ms. Schwartz, what about the use of organically grown fruits and vegetables? Do you feel that should be pursued by the parents of children who have allergies or for the parents themselves? Are you happy with the concept of organically grown fruits and vegetables?
Of course, absolutely. And here in San Francisco, as you probably can well imagine, there is a very robust community of very health-minded, health-conscious foodies, and that's what we do in our home. Even our pets eat organic food here. There's no need to add on already to our body's immunology with all sorts of chemicals. They're so unnecessary. And there really are so many wonderful and safe alternatives.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I think this discussion of organically grown fruits and vegetables does seem to be controversial. Now, what about protein sources? If people seem to do badly on shellfish, they do badly on eggs, they do badly on milk, what does that leave for people listening to this broadcast who would like to make an improvement? What types of protein foods do you feel people do very well on?
I've noticed that sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds can be used in a variety of different ways. Seeds are always a pretty solid alternative to the nuts. And they can be used in so many different ways. Can be roasted and used as on top of a salad. They can be baked into crusts. Rice flour and arrowroot can be made into a wonderful slurry as a wheat alternative. And we just are always forever thinking of new ways to broaden the recipes. And there's a recipe chapter in the Family Food Allergy book so that people don't have to give up on this concept of wonderful home-cooked meals. It's just a way of finding alternatives. Applesauce can be used instead of butter in some recipes. The rice milk is always a nice alternative to a dairy cup of milk that's needed in a cake, for example. Xanthan gum, which you can purchase even at Trader Joe's, is a wonderful thickening agent that can be used in recipes instead of egg.
I see. We're speaking with Mariel Hemingway. Mariel Schwartz, excuse me.
I wish.
Meryl Schwartz, the author of the Family Food Allergy Cookbook, speaking to us by phone from her home near San Francisco. Ms. Schwartz, thank you for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Josh Lane. This is Here's to Your Health, and we're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Indian Tyler inviting you to join me beginning April 9th every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity. Join me as we go beyond the vanity and discuss the real-life issues of beauty. And it gets really real. So on April 9th, don't forget to tune in to Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity, Wednesdays at 2 p.m., exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, and AHA Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez.
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid
and no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Ro Williams, and I would like to invite you to join GospelRhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show, GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes under R&B or watch us live on Ustream TV. We are reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio on LATalkLive.com. We're more than just talk. We're heaven's party here on earth.
Hello, how are you today? And welcome back to this edition of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. My name is Yvonne Beauvais, and I'm known as the Wellness Correspondent. I'm also a journalist in the wellness industry, and today I have two absolutely very exciting guests. Our guest today is Al Simon and Per Anderson, and they're from Algon Hydrogen Activator. And Al's background is that he's an entrepreneur, and he came out of retirement to be of benefit to the world. And he wants to make the world a better place for as many people as he can. And I have to tell you that he, in the true sense of the word, is a humanitarian. Al's a developer in both wellness and green technology. And Per Anderson has had 25 years in the industrial distribution business. And he and Al work together to distribute life-saving and life-giving technologies to the world. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Al.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. Welcome, Per.
It is a pleasure.
Water is a big topic these days because we have less and less water, and here in California we're in a drought. And you have developed what is called a hydrogen activator. So you have a real solution for real problems. So tell me, what do you see as the greatest concern today regarding water? And you've done something about that, and we'd like to hear about it today.
Well, basically, a hydrogen activator changes the characteristics of water so that the plants are able to take up more water, reduce the mineralization of the soil, and make the soil more loam-like. It does it with a non-chemical, non-electrical way. It's a means of passing water over an electrified bead that continues to operate year in and year out. It has no downside to it. The reduction in water is about 50 to 60%. Reduction in fertilizer at least 50%, and it reduces the pesticide use because the plants stay healthier. Mineralization of the soil is dramatically reducing the capacity of the plants to absorb water, and you cannot continue to do this without destroying the land. Eventually, they're going to have to start thinking about ways to conserve water and conserve their land and reduce the mineralization of the water.
So, Per, we are in a drought right now. I mean, that's obvious. Can you tell us the situation of our aquifers here in California and what we're really facing? And, I mean, if we run out of water, that's it. There's the point of no return.
You know, water is something that I think traditionally we take for granted. We take for granted its purity. We take for granted its availability. Mm-hmm. And it's a habit pattern that basically America has. And what we don't know and we're not aware of is the encroaching shortage. And the aquifers have been dropping dramatically. And as they've dropped, the TDS, or the level of minerals, are going higher, which make them harder on the plants. Mm-hmm. So it's a growing problem, a shortage of increasing shortage with water that's not as good for the plants. So the question for the farmer is, how do I deal with it?
So Al, you and I had go ahead and take that sip of water.
Right.
No, go ahead, please. I want everyone to hear what needs to be said today. You and I talked about some of the farming situations, about the overuse of fertilizer, the overuse of pesticides, the drainage to the water system with some farming practices, and the hydrogen activator really addresses all of these problems. We talked about the mineralization of the soil. So if you could touch some of those topics for us about the fertilizer, about the pesticides, about the mineralization, about the absorption of the water.
Well, so the worst thing that's going to happen right now is, I believe, the California government is going to reduce the use of fertilizer and pesticides. And they're going, in some cases, I believe, they're going to start putting on meters on the wells to some of the farmers. So many of the farmers overwater their plants because of the mineralization of the soil is so high that if they don't do that, the minerals dry on the roots of their vines, and the vines can no longer take up water and they die. In Paso Robles area, their water use is 50-60% higher than it should be, mainly because they're trying to keep their plants alive by keeping the soil wet. This is a serious problem because Paso Robles, there are houses in Paso Robles that no longer have water to their homes, which makes their homes worthless. And that to me is a great tragedy, and it really upsets me to hear the farmers continue to do what they're doing while people don't have any water to their homes. The hydrogen activator literally solubilizes the solids in the water, the minerals in the water, and the sodium, so that it's able to percolate through, and the plants are able to take the water up without the same problems they had with over the mineralization water. It's a easy fix. I know a lot of the farmers won't believe what we're saying, but what I tell them is, let me show you. You don't have to believe anything we say, but just please give it a shot, and you'll find that there is a dramatic difference in your bottom line and the problems you're having with your soil and the water contamination.
So we're talking about reducing water usage, you said, by what?
50 to 60%.
That's high. Come a little bit closer to your mic. I want to make sure they don't miss a word of all of this.
Okay.
And then the reduction of fertilizer would be?
But at least 50%. The fertilizer, when you use the hydrogen activator to mix your fertilizer and pesticide, the solubility of the fertilizer gets to be twice as effective. And so you can cut your fertilizer use in half. And then we have found that by the fact that the fertilizer is much more effective, you can actually cut it in half again in the fields. The first time we used the hydrogen activator on fertilizer, we burnt the plants because it was too strong. And that's how we learned how powerful it is to reduce fertilizer contamination by cutting the fertilizer at least in half.
And the state of California is going to be reducing fertilizer use mandatorily, from what I understand.
I believe that's in the works as we speak.
And we also spoke about strong plants don't need pesticides because
Every farmer knows that if your plants have a strong growing without the stress that's put on it from either drought or overwatering or underwatering or over-mineralization, over sodium, the plants will fight most diseases without any pesticides.
So, Per, let's talk about yield increase. So now we have water that the minerals are made more soluble. Mm-hmm. So we have less deposit in the soil. We need less water, we've talked about that, and we need less fertilizer. So I know there's a yield increase from all of this. Can we talk about that and the effect on the price of food to come when this solution is addressed, when this problem is addressed with this solution?
Well, we need to remember that the building block of not only our bodies but of plants and the food we eat is water. Mm-hmm. So when a plant is growing, the bulk of that plant is actually water. And as the root absorbs water and utilizes it within the plant, the dynamics of the water molecule itself are critical. And that's really what's being addressed. By increasing the solvency factor, by affecting the water molecule slightly, which is what the hydrogen activator does, it makes it a better building tool. So at the end of the day, when that plant utilizes our water, it needs less of it. The water itself clusters. The water clusters are smaller. It's better utilized by the plants. The plants end up being healthier because they have a better building block to work with. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what's happening. So at the end of the day, you get a plant that's stronger, that resists pesticides better, mm-hmm. but at the same time, it has higher yield. This is what blew the mind of this agronomist who worked with it last year for 8 months in the field. He saw reduced water, he saw reduced fertilizer, and he saw increased yield. And he said, in 25 years, I've never seen this. And that was the kind of hardcore facts that he needed to say this is real. Now, at the end of the day, understanding every dynamic may be complex, but at the same time, you can't argue with results. 15%, 20%, 30% higher yield is bottom line money to the farmer, and that's essential in today's world.
Well, I believe in one conversation that we had regarding the hydrogen activator that we spoke to the fact that a grower could expect anywhere from 10 even to 100% increase over the yield that his crops are producing by standard methods of farming and watering.
Yeah, we've seen universities do testing with this, mm-hmm. where they 50%, even beyond that, 100 to 150% in a particular crop. It'll vary with the crop, mm-hmm. with the product, but some extraordinary results have been seen.
Well, this is exciting. So this is the hydrogen activator, Al, and this is something that would be installed into the water system itself?
That's correct.
And so whatever waters would go to a particular property, whether it would be to the farmhouse or the fields, would all filter through this unit?
Yes.
And this unit, now this is the home unit here? Is this?
That's the home size, yes.
So this is a home size. So this can be put into the water system of anyone's their home. And can you tell us the effect on their home water and how that would affect everything from the washing machine to the water heater to the pool to the lawn?
The effect has been dramatic in my own home. It was amazing to me My water bill's every 2 months between $425 and $475 every 2 months. And we've cut that more than half. We're under $200 now.
So it's $100 a month, basically, that you're paying for
Yeah.
a whole house. I've seen your property. It's quite large. So
Yes, it's a very large piece of property,
Mhm.
and it's covered in flowers and trees and plants and fruit trees. So we use a lot of water, but with this unit, we've been able to cut the cost of the water down more than half. And my lawn, my gardener had a guy come a couple of blocks away, came by and said, what are we doing with our lawn? And he told him about it, so he put in a unit as well.
awesome. So because we have the solubility factor of the minerals, that means we're probably not getting calcium buildup in the water tank and in the faucets and shower heads.
In my shower, when you turn your shower on in your morning shower, you know where to turn the shower on so you don't get scalded. In mine, I cut it back about 35% because the water tank mineralization that was stopped.
Oh my goodness! So I would imagine a bottle of shampoo would go a lot further too, because you have less minerals.
It changed everything. The taste of the water. My refrigerator ice cube didn't have any, didn't go through the reverse osmosis, so it had an off taste to it. And since we put the unit in, the cubes taste wonderful.
And they're probably crystal clear,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
So this is something not only for the farm, but for a residency.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we have 20 water districts right now that are going to ration, not considering, they're going to ration water.
They're rationing right now.
They're rationing right now.
Right.
And so a homeowner will look at paying 3 to 4 times the amount if they go over that ration and perhaps be cut off at some
Yeah.
point.
That's correct. This would be a way to cut their bills dramatically. So the cost is negligible for the unit. It's the unit. We have a garden unit as well for people that have apartments and want to water their flowers and their plants with it. You just hook it up to a garden hose.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, yes, it saves money, but I'm really into environmental green, and this is about as environmentally green as it gets.
There's absolutely no downside to it. All it does is improve the property, improve the land, improve the production. And mainly it improves the bottom line for everybody, whether you're a homeowner or a farmer.
That is fabulous. So, where do you want to go with this pear? I mean, obviously we've got it into the farms. We know we have a drought here in California, so the first place I would think would be to saturate the farmers here in this state and preserve our own water aquifers here in California. And I mean, Arizona's got a problem, Texas has a problem, Nevada has a problem. There's a lot of problems with drought. Colorado, some areas are
Right.
having problems with water, drought. So can you tell us where you're going with all of this? And
Well, in any business, you have to choose your priorities, and of
Mhm.
course, you look at the priorities where there's the most critical need,
Mhm.
and I think you've hit it. With the farmers, is the most critical need. The biggest users, who are the biggest users, and how can we benefit them before
Mhm.
they start to get offline? And of course, if you take a golf course offline, you'll save the water, but you'll have a limited part of the population that's affected. Well, the golf courses are not so nice. But if you have a problem with your farmers, not being able to get their yields out, or their costs skyrocketing, that's going to affect the whole food chain. And the lurking menace that's out there, at least in my mind, is we're so used to a wonderfully smooth flow of food and food supply. I mean, it's hard to even visualize the catastrophic results that we'd all feel if suddenly that supply were radically affected. And it sneaks up on you. And a lot of times they're naysayers, but at the same time the facts speak for themselves. The aquifers are getting lower, the prices are going up, the legislators are ready to legislate. At some point it's going to happen where farmers are not going to be able to put out what we expect, and we're all going to be upset.
well, the prices are already high. I mean, even I've been a Trader Joe's shopper for years. Yeah, Trader Joe's, you get a plug today, and Sprouts and places like that, because I can
Yeah.
find organic produce over
Right,
there.
right.
And I have watched over the last 6-7 years the price of food just dramatically skyrocket. And so if we don't do something about water, we're looking maybe at these prices doubling.
Well, there's that factor, but in the food chain, the cost of the product from the grower is just one facet. There's all the middlemen, and that does affect it as well. What'll really hurt us if you just don't have availability.
Okay.
No
food.
No food. I mean, you like raspberries. Well, you don't get raspberries anymore.
Right.
Type of thing.
So the greatest need, which we've talked about, of the hydrogen activator, Al, you feel is commercially above domestic, but it will affect both.
And it will affect both because we're all in the same boat, more or less. The amount of water that's being used today is not being replenished.
Yeah.
And eventually it's finite. When we run out of water, we run out of food, period.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no going back. We just can't start growing food without water. There's no way in the world we can do this. And desalinization, they do it in Israel to a very successful extent. And I believe this is the next course of action. In Cambria, they're developing a desalinization plant. Santa Barbara is going to reactivate their desalinization plant.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all necessary, but you can't grow food with desalinization. There's just not enough water.
Mm-hmm. So this is a win-win across the board, no matter what technology that we're employing with water at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this easy to install?
It's easy to install. The farmer has nothing to do. He has a responsibility. Each water is different in its effect on the beads. And once a month for the first 6 to 8 months, he has to check the beads to see what the wear on the beads are. And after that, we establish it, and then we know exactly how long his beads will last.
So can we talk about these beads and how often will they have to be replaced, if ever?
We had 8 months in a strawberry field with no deterioration whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
In my own home, it took 9 months for the beads to be worn down to the point where I had to replace them.
Are they fairly cost-effective to replace?
It's 10% of the cost of the unit.
Oh, that's very reasonable.
Yeah, and that there would be about $40.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's absolutely nothing. That's a very cost-effective. So how much would it cost on an average for a homeowner to put this in their home? On an average?
$350.
That's it?
Yeah.
And once it's installed, then just every 8 months they replace the beads in there. And then for a farmer, and I know that it's greater because you were talking about like a 1-inch, 4-inch, must have to do with piping or something.
Right. It's $1,500 an inch.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a 4-inch, it's $6,000 for a unit. The results are so dramatic that this one farmer said that in 3 months the cost of the unit was paid for.
Oh my goodness. So how are you right now, Per? Is this just like going to one farmer at a time? Is there, and I'm hoping that today's show will really bring in awareness to our viewers today, and because this is a life and death kind of situation for our state and really for the nation, because so much of our food comes from this state. So we're not just talking about something that will moderately improve life. This is like a critical crisis, and this is a real solution to real problems. And this is about as green of a technology. This is more important than an electric car as far as I'm concerned, because no water, no life.
Yeah.
So how are we going about this right now?
Well, we think that the nerve center, or the point of entry that's to be most effective, is the professional, the grower himself, and the professionals that service the grower.
Mm-hmm.
The problems are right at hand. It's not theory. It's not some far off study. It's right in front of them. Mm-hmm. So we've hit the growing up in the growing centers in Central California, and we're going to the people themselves that are wrestling with the problem, saying, here, take this unit and see what it does. And it's beginning to, as they get the response, it's beginning to penetrate, and will penetrate radically quick.
So again, I realize new modalities always require new understanding, and people sometimes have it. And that was my next question is, Al, what attitudes and methodologies need to shift to help farmers to understand the massive savings that they will have? And not just, we're not talking about just money savings. We're talking about saving a culture right now. We're talking about
saving the land.
Saving the land, all of that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The most important thing is the farmer has to see it. As I said before, they've been shot at for years and years, and people say, I have the great answer to all your problems with magnets and other things. They have sulfur machines, and they're marginal in what their impact on the agricultural profit structure is. This is a complete structural change in their profit, their watering techniques, their fertilizer, and their pesticide use, and it does it all in a way that is very, very cost effective. I have a farmer in Pacoima, not Pacoima, in Arroyo Grande area. He has 10 acres. It was a 30-acre ranch growing avocados. And they divided the ranch up into 10 acres thing. The same farm manager runs all 3 parcels. He put the unit in. His crop yielded 70 bins of avocados. The 2 other people, one had 25 and the other one had 45. He grew twice as much avocados with the unit as the other 2 combined.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's thrilled to death with it.
That's exciting news. I mean, there's a lot of avocado farms here in California. We've got a lot of citrus, lemons, oranges, avocados.
It will have a beneficial effect on all the fruit trees. In my own yard, we never had an avocado on our trees at all for 8 years. And when I put the unit in, we had trees were loaded. The frost killed them all, unfortunately.
That's sad.
But our loquats, we never had loquats. We got loquats in. And our whole property was just full of fruit now beyond anything I've ever had before.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, I think back to World War II, we had the Victory Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
You're
not old enough for that.
Well, I was just a little bit post-World War II, but I did read about all of that.
I was there.
You were there. I wasn't quite there. I was just a glimmer.
I was collecting tin foil from cigarette packs and grease, and the whole country was an unbelievable time. Though it was a time when the entire country pulled in one direction.
And that's what we need to do right now with all of this.
With all the problems with water, we have to start thinking about the good of the land and the people.
So this really needs to go from coast to coast here, and we need to pull together just like we did in World War II.
If we only knew, the Lord above would help us do this.
He will, because this is his heart. His heart's always one of life. So, and this creates life.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Water is life.
Water is life. So, what's your goal right now regarding the hydrogen activator? You both probably have, being that you work together, similar goals, but I'm sure you have your own ideas, and I'll start with Al, and then I'll go to Per on this.
Basically, my goal is to, we've been working with strawberry farmers because they were the most receptive, because that's the most expensive crop they have. Mm-hmm. But the problem with the strawberries, they're about an 18-month crop, and the farmers want to see what happens after they use it for the 18 months, which slowed down our progression, because now people are watching what's happening with the strawberries, but they want to see what happens at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. So we're putting in a lettuce grower, and he says his crop takes 70 days. Well, I believe we can do it in 60 days and give him a bigger crop than he's ever seen before, and he will see the difference in his crop in 15 to 20 days.
Oh, that's very fast turnaround.
And when the other farmers see the difference, because they'll be watching it as well, it'll spread like wildfire, I believe.
So this is any crop across the board. This will have a yield increase.
A yield increase, and bring the bottom line to a much better situation.
So obviously some crops produce faster than others, and then right. I'll get into your goals, Per. Maybe you can share some of that with us.
Well, it's interesting to be involved in a selling or being involved with a product that doesn't just support a business or make money,
right?
But something that has a long-term effect that's positive. And I don't think any of us understand that, really comprehend the significance of water to our lives. We just don't. We don't think in those terms. We think, I'm not a fish. In reality, we should think a little bit that way.
Oh, yes, we are.
Because if we don't, when the water hits certain critical levels, we'll all be in trouble, not just domestically, but globally. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of predictions out there about wars being fought over water.
Oh, absolutely.
Heaven forbid.
It's a new gold.
But the fact is, and what's lurking is some kind of carcinogen or some kind of discovery that suddenly were to take out 40% of our existing water, fresh water, we'd all be in a panic.
Well, I have a holiday that I celebrate, and I fast for 24 hours, and there's no water, and at the end of that 24 hours, I feel desperate.
Yep.
So I can't imagine if we had to go past 24 hours without water.
You can go 3 days without water, but 30 days without food.
Oh, so water is critical. So, gentlemen, I'm going to hear a little bit from each of you before we sign off for the day. Al and Per, please show your contact information and tell us how we can get in touch with you.
Well, call us. Some of you out there that are interested for your homes or farmers or growers and please call us. There are 2 phone numbers. It's 805-474-0558. That's 805-474-0558. Or 310-780-9052. And if you can't remember that, just remember Hydrogen Activator, hydrogenactivator.com. And go right online, and you'll see that information there. And give us a call. You'll find out more.
So they can find all your contact information on hydrogenactivator.com. That's phone numbers, emails,
the whole
everything.
9 yards. Yeah, it's all there.
Well, this is an exciting episode today on green technology. Al Simon, thank you so much for coming. I couldn't wait to do this show. And Per Anderson, once again, thank you for being here on Here's to Your Health. Thank you again. My name is Yvonne Beauvais, and I'm your host. I've been your host today, and I am your wellness correspondent. This has been Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, riding the wave of internet broadcast, and we are more than just talk. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. I have another guest today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Indian Tyler inviting you to join me beginning April 9th every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity. Join me as we go beyond the vanity and discuss the real-life issues of beauty. And it gets really real. So on April 9th, don't forget to tune in to Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity Wednesdays at 2 p.m. exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, and AHA Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hello world, how you living? This is D. Brex, your host of the all-new rap project here on LA Talk Live. That's latalklive.com. Or you can find me on iTunes Radio in the R&B section. That's the Rap Project, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. West Coast time, so don't be late. On the Rap Project, I will be playing the very best of rap and hip-hop that goes beyond the ordinary. So connect with me, your host, D. Brax, the rap connoisseur, on the Rap Project every Wednesday at 7 right here on latalklive.com, where we are more than just talk.
Well, welcome back to this episode of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. My name is Yvonne Beauvais, and I am your wellness correspondent and wellness journalist. And I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Susan Shengazar. She's the author of 3 books. She's a registered nurse. She works in the emergency room at Providence Holy Cross Hospital. And she's been in the medical field for 30 years, and she has been 20 years in the emergency room. Her background is that she's a certified domestic violence advocate. She's a certified sexual assault nurse. She's Miss California Ambassador for Domestic Violence. She chose Safe Passage as her charity of choice. She's Dame under the Order of Constantine the Great and St. Helen, and she was awarded for compassion in 2010 at Holy Cross Hospital, and she's been a missionary to Haiti after the earthquake. Welcome, Susan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Well, she's written 3 books, but the book that we're talking about today is called The Anointing of Mercy. And mercy is so critical to wellness. We talk a lot about exercise. We talk a lot about nutrients. I mean, I'm big on all of those things. As a wellness consultant, I'm always helping to educate people in those areas. And I realize emotional healing is really, critical. It's that kind of unseen spiritual side of the healing process, which to me is every bit as much of wellness as is your supplements and your nutrients and your exercise and weightlifting. But we're talking about mercy. Mercy, kindness, and compassion. And you have a very special calling as a parish nurse. So, Susan, what do you think is the greatest concern in today's world regarding mercy or the lack thereof?
It's a very good question, Yvonne. And as a nurse and being in the medical field as long as I have, I've seen a lot of good and bad with doctors, nurses, therapists, nurses' aides, technicians, and just human beings and the way they behave towards each other. I have to say, as a little girl, I was always different, and I always was reaching out to the underdog. So when I grew up, my grandmother was a nurse, my mom was a nurse, and surely I was going to be a nurse. I always had that compassion in me. I wanted to be like Mother Teresa. I was always watching her on TV or looking at what she did and thinking, that's what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I just knew it. So when I became a nurse, I started seeing patients after you give them the medicine and they weren't any better. And I started realizing what would make them better. And it was like God was just talking to me. And I would just go in and take their hand because they were suffering. Mm-hmm. And then I would just ask him, can I pray for you? And the minute I touched them with my hand and started to pray, it started happening. And I realized that that was something that you couldn't buy. You couldn't get enough of. And the more I did it, the more people wanted it without me even offering it to them. I would walk in a room and they would just say, "Oh my gosh, there's something about you." And I would just say, "Yes, thank you, God, there is."
Well, parish nurse, let's see, what page did you tell me that was on here? That is...
I think I talk about it on page
21? Was it page 21? It is. So I have it here. So a parish nurse, and this is her book, by the way. This is called The Anointing of Mercy. And she says a parish nurse hears from God, has eyes to see and ears to hear, messages from God to keep alive the mercy God is pouring down on those calling out to Him, those laying on the streets before the ambulance comes and brings them to your hospital room. God knows who is working that day and who He will put in your room, and the open doors He will give you, and often challenge you. Oh, I can just almost want to weep, because the trauma and the fear that people experience when their lives in one brief moment can become completely compromised and completely vulnerable, and they are suspended between life and death, and perhaps they're by themselves and their loved ones are not around, and they fear they're going to die, and no one wants to die alone.
You know, it brings me to a story when I was working at Monterey Hospital. I had just moved from the Midwest to California, and a woman came in with her husband. He was having a massive heart attack, and they were both elderly, and he was dying. As we were pumping blood in as fast as we could and doing all kinds of things, he gives his last breath, and we pronounce him dead. She's standing in the room as we are working on him because she didn't want to leave him. And all of a sudden it just hit me. And I just took her hand and put it in his. And I said to her, "God brought you two together till death do you part. And He just left you, His body. But you're with Him that whole time." And I started to pray, not even realizing the room is full of all of my colleagues who don't even know about me. I had just started working there. When I get done praying, the room is just filled with everybody standing there staring at me, crying their eyes out. I walked out of the room thinking that everybody's going to be freaked out. And one by one, they came up to me and said, "If I die, will you pray for me at my funeral?"
What changes, Susan, would you like to bring about right now in the field of medicine or any kind of alternate method of healing regarding mercy? Because as we're talking, it's a critical component, whether you're in a hospital room, you're in a naturopath's office, you're in a psychologist's office, you're any place where you are in the moment compromised, whether it's physically or emotionally, whether you've chosen traditional medicine or alternative medicine. Talk about why the physician or the practitioner needs to be trained in the art and the understanding of mercy, because even the word says that to those who show mercy, mercy will be given.
Absolutely. It's a really good question, Yvonne. The thing about mercy and being trained as a parish nurse or a parish doctor or just having the training is that it's everywhere you go. And I went to Haiti, and we were at the border stuck in our bus for hours. They wouldn't let us in. And all the people were there. We couldn't open our suitcases of supplies, all the medicine they needed. But what we had was powerful, because I said, I'm going to do what I came here to do. And I got out of the bus and started laying hands on the people in Haiti. And we're praying for people who didn't speak our language. But it's not to me to decide what the prayer is doing, because it's not me who's healing them. I am just an instrument. And these people were just blessed, beyond blessed. I saw people get healed without medicine. And I know that it's prayer. More people want prayer than they do medicine. And it's just amazing how I'm just being taught every day And even my job has changed right now. I'm on the phone calling everybody back, about 500 phone calls a day. And in this season, I'm thinking, what is my lesson here? A woman I called last night, she's 94 years old. She says, I'm so scared. And I said, why are you scared? She says, I'm alone.
Oh, I understand that.
And I said, can I pray for you? And she just started crying. She goes, you can do that? And I said, yes, I can. And so I prayed for her. And afterwards, she actually called the emergency room and said, can you make sure that everybody knows that what Susan did for me?
Right.
And, you know, it's just something that should happen, that people don't know it's okay. It's not a religious thing. It's the doctors, they come to me and ask me to pray while they're doing procedures. When people die, I'm there to, you know, take care of it. And before the chaplains get there, if someone has a trying moment where someone's going off to surgery, I'll bring the family together and offer prayer. I haven't had one person, I don't care what religion they are, say no. And everybody is vulnerable.
So let's talk about mercy a little bit more here. What path do you see developing to implement mercy in the field of healing? You talked about a common bond, and you're talking about it's not about faith. And you mentioned that there was a common bond faith community, nurses, and they're all faiths that had come together. I found that really interesting. So was this a training session that you were training people in the art of mercy, and they came from all walks and all faiths, and these were parish nurses? Or I'm not sure what?
Well, actually, in the Midwest, I had been with a church that decided to bring all the nurses. We had so many nurses. It was a small 29,000 people town, and it was such a large congregation of nurses that we decided to have faith community nurses there. And we would go to the homes, and because we were nurses, we could look in on them, but because we had a common bond of faith, we could pray for them and ask God to intervene where we didn't know. Because without God, I can't see the soul of the person that's hurting. I can see the person in front of me, but without God, I can't see it. But as a faith community nurse, I can see things about that person that I can't know. And so, so with that training, I was looking on the internet for about classes to take. I'm working on my master's, and I saw this class on faith community nurses, and it was $500. It was online in Chicago, and one of the nurses had commented on hearing me pray for someone, asked how she could learn to do that, and I talked to her about it, and I encouraged her to take the class. It ended up there was 5 of us that took the class, and fortunately I work in a Catholic hospital, and all the nuns called me the thorn that pricked everyone. They had never had that many nurses in the ER take the class. So we have a quarterly gathering with faith community nurses. We had one Saturday, and the room was packed. And these are men, women, nurses, aides, doctors, psychologists. Everyone knows. Everyone has seen how prayer helps.
So the book called The Anointing of Mercy basically is about a gift of mercy. Can we talk about the understanding that this is a gift of mercy? I mean, we can practice being merciful people just by putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes and knowing what it might feel like. But then there's a gift of mercy. Can we talk about that gift of mercy? Would you explain to our viewers today what that is?
A lot of people don't understand the anointing, and the anointing is a gift. It's to allow you to do something with ease, and it just comes natural. Just like an artist who has this paintbrush is making a beautiful mural or painting, it just came to him naturally. This is a gift, and this is why you see so many people in the medical field, and then you say, oh, I could never do that. You're not gifted to do it. But there are a lot of people who are doing jobs that they're not anointed to do. They may want to be a doctor or a nurse, but they're doing it because of the money. It's motivated them, and they're very smart. They pass their boards. But you put them in a room with a patient, they have no bedside manner.
Yes.
And everyone has been around someone.
Oh, yes.
And it's like you just say, don't touch me.
I remember reading a book, and it was a children's story, and I wish I could remember the name of the book. But it talked about, the rabbit runs because the rabbit was made to run, and the bird flies because the bird's been given wings, and the fish swims because it's been given, fins, and it has a body that just kind of like, streams through the water. But if you make the fish fly, it's going to have a hard time. Or if you make the rabbit swim, it's going to have a hard time. And a bird, if you ask the bird to become like a rabbit, it's not. It's not meant to run on the ground. It's meant to fly in the air. So basically we're talking about that God in his divine wisdom gives each of us particular gifts and puts us in areas where we can have the greatest effect on people.
Absolutely.
And that's what he's done with you.
Absolutely.
So, what do you see is the greatest need right now in the world for this gift of mercy? Obviously in the hospital, but it needs to be everywhere, because if God is love, that means all human beings respond to love, and I know that to be a truth. There is no human being that I know that does not respond to love, mercy, and compassion.
I really believe that it should be a training, even if people don't think they need to use it, because we do a lot of training in the medical field and stuff. It's like, I don't want to know about it, but I have to do it.
Right.
Because when that homeless person comes in and they have scabies, lice, sores, and they have maggots on them, and their hair is matted, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, and I'll just say, put them in my room. Because I don't like to see someone get picked on. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I can smell it. I don't like it either. But if that was you, and all of us look that way, if you were to put us on the streets.
No bath, no way to brush your teeth, no way to clean yourself properly.
Absolutely.
Or have clean socks or underwear or proper toiletries, any of those things.
Absolutely.
I can't even honestly fathom the reality. That's a nightmare.
I was given the assignment of a homeless ministry, and I was on the streets for years. And this is the book, I'll Meet You at Winston and Wall Street Journals.
This is downtown Los Angeles,
downtown,
correct?
The street was Winston and Wall Street. And the whole time I was there, I had people hugging me because they love me so much. They're hugging me, and their hair touching mine. Not once did I get lice, scabies, anything.
Right.
Tuberculosis, nothing. Because when you're called to do something, God shields you. And I know that I'm a better person for seeing the humanity side, because I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to not have anything. And I know what it's like to give them what they need.
Right.
And when you give someone what they need and you see them restored and you see them better than when they came in the room, then you know you did your job well as a nurse, as a human being, and to allow yourself to be vulnerable and put yourself in their shoes. Right. And say, that could be me someday. And everybody thinks it won't happen to them. And we all were given a wake-up call when we see the disasters. And you see how many nurses and doctors and people run to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think back to even 2008 and what happened over those between 2008 and 2010, and all the people that all of us had lost their homes and the tent communities that were going up. And people were completely shocked out of a life that they had had, to houses being upside down, losing their homes, being on the street, loss of jobs, churches being overfilled with needs for medical help and dinner, soup kitchens, and places where families could spend the night and looking for suitable housing to put a roof over their head. We all live in a very fragile world. We think that we're protected, but we're one crisis away.
Absolutely.
You could lose your health and all of a sudden not be able to work. You could lose your job and not have money. We could have a crisis and everything would go haywire. We don't realize how fragile our system is. It's a great system. The best in the world here.
It's a great point. And just like I mentioned earlier, this is something that you have with you. You can take the building, the hospital building down. You can get rid of all the equipment because it's broken or destroyed. So what do you have left to work with? It's you and God.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not want to be without it. because I've seen people healed. I was healed, and I think I hold on to that real big, because I saw myself get healed over a telephone call with prayer. And I know I have the gift of healing, but I can do nothing without God. So you take this town apart, you take the hospital, you take away all my tools. Who am I really without all of that?
I remember a story in your book about a nun who had been admitted into the hospital. And I think that she probably had some doubts, but you prayed with her. And after you prayed with her, she checked out, I think. Could you tell us a little more, elaborate on that story? I thought that was, she says, well, somebody else needs this bed. I don't need it anymore.
It happens a lot, and it's really an uncomfortable feeling because, of course, everybody wants to get paid. And so one doctor said to me, you're ruining our business here. But it wasn't me who told her to leave.
Right.
I offered to pray for her, and she took hands with me. I prayed for her, and she got dressed, and she was so thankful. It's amazing how it happens. And the story I share in the book where my jaw was broken and I was supposed to have surgery.
Was this book here? This one.
I share it in both my life story that I wrote in Journey to My Father's Palace. I tell the whole story. I tell a piece of it in here. But I actually was going to commit suicide because my face was broken, my nose broken, my teeth knocked out.
Let's back up a little bit here. Susan was a victim of domestic violence on a very major scale. So let's back up, because they're going to say, well, why was your nose broken and why were your teeth broken? I mean, would you mind all the way down to where he put you in the earth? Can you tell a little bit about that and share, why you know that this works and the mercy that was administered to you?
Yes. I was a victim of domestic violence, which is why I'm a domestic violence and sexual assault advocate, and I also do a radio show called The Advocate. And I wrote my story so people would see what it's like. And so there's so many facets to me, but I know that I know that I know, because I had a broken nose. My jaw was broken, and I was supposed to have surgery. This was in Billings. I was supposed to go to Billings, Montana.
And you had some teeth knocked out.
My front teeth knocked out. And I was going to commit suicide because I was so disfigured and I was so vulnerable. And I had opened the door to oppression and depression. And I was just so depressed. And I saw how that happened. And so I went for a walk. I was going to find drugs. I just knew that you could find them in the streets. So God's telling me, go make a phone call to this person I knew in California, and I'm in Wyoming. I was a missionary, and I call this person, and she answers the phone, and nobody knew what had happened to me. We didn't have cell phones back then.
Right.
So I called her collect, and she said, before you say anything, God just told me to pray for your jaw. And I started bawling because I was the one that would always reach out to people. But here someone had heard from God, and I thought, God loves me so much that he would do this for me. She prayed for me, and every bone moved back in my face. I had a wired jaw. I went to the dentist the next day and told him to take it off. I'm not having surgery. And he did x-rays 10 times. And instead of saying, yeah, you've been healed, he just said, you don't have to have the surgery. I never had the surgery other than having my front teeth replaced. I never had my nose fixed. It's perfect.
So that's a pretty incredible story.
It's true.
And that's that's really the power of love and God's love. And God's love is filtered down through us and to other people. And when someone is disenfranchised in that way, it's our duty to help to restore them so that they can continue to live amongst us with dignity.
Absolutely.
Well, Susan, we're coming to the end of our segment today, but I would like for our viewing audience today to find out how to get in touch with you, where they can find your books. We've got I'll Meet You at Winston and Wall Street. We have The Anointing of Mercy and Journey to My Father's Palace. So please give them your your name, contact information, however they can get a hold of you.
My name is Susan Shengazar, and I do have a website. It's www.christianreading.com/S Ortiz. And all 3 books are there. The trailers for the books are there.
Mhm.
Also, you can get them on ZulonBooks.com, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. They also are on ebooks, so you can download them. And you can also call me at 818-486-9316.
Slower. Do that again.
818-486-9316.
And is there an email that they can contact you at?
SusanC223@AOL.com.
One more time. Susan C at
AOL.com.
Susan C at. Is there no?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Say the whole thing.
Susan C223@AOL.com.
All right. Well, you've heard how to get in touch with Susan. I want to thank all of you today for joining Susan Shengazar and myself, your host, Yvonne Beauvais, on today's segment of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. Now, here at LA Talk Live, we are, as you can see, we are more than just talk. We are riding the wave of internet broadcasting, bringing you the finest information that the world has to offer to enlarge your understanding of modalities to help you in the world of health and wellness and green technologies. So please stay tuned. We have another guest. I'll be joining you in just a moment. And thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back to Here's to Your Health on this segment, and this is LA Talk Live. My name is Yvonne Beauvais. I'm your wellness correspondent and journalist, and today I have a very exciting gift. Her name is Dr. Nikki Monty. Dr. Nikki Monty is a psychotherapist. She's an author. She's a mentor. She's a teacher. She works in media. She's a very well-rounded lady, and she has a book out today, says Our Love Matters. So could you tell us a little bit about your background, Dr. Monty? Do you like to be called Nikki?
I
Dr.
actually
Nikki?
like
or?
to be called Dr. Nikki.
Okay, Dr. Nikki it
Dr.
is.
Nikki. That's what most people call me.
Hello, Dr. Nikki.
But as most people say, I don't care what you call me as long as you call me.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So give us a little bit of your background, Dr. Nikki, and obviously you get into the dysfunctional patterns and how to restore and to heal lives so that you can have peace in your relationships and stay together.
Well, or not.
Or not,
if
yes.
that's what it should be.
Yes.
First of all, just to work off of what you just said, in my circles, my particular circles, we don't really believe in the word dysfunctional. We say all relationships are functioning just the way they're supposed to. That may not be good news for a lot of people. They're functioning just. So Our Love Matters, Find It, Fix It, or Let It Go, is my second book. My first book is Stuck in the Story No More, and that's about the defenses that run us and rule us. And it took me a number of years to be ready to write another book. I really wasn't moved to write another book, and I'll just give you a little background of the book, and then I'm happy to give you my background as well.
Okay, fine.
That's
Thank you. No, yes, Dr. Nikki, that's great.
I had not. I was in a kind of a what I would call a fallow period, because my mentor of many years, my teacher, and really the person who had most influence, certainly in my adult life, besides my husband, on my learning trajectory, a man named Dr. Brew Joy, had passed. And I was really mad. I was very mad. I was not ready for him to go. But, you know, he didn't ask my permission. And so off he went. And so after he died, I had about a year or 3/4 of a year anyway, where I just wasn't, I wasn't feeling it. I mean, I was suiting up and showing up, as we say. I was doing the work.
Were you in grief? Was this a grief?
I was in grief. I was in deep grief. I had convinced myself that I was never going to learn anything new because he was the only teacher for me in the world. Though I had worked with many wonderful teachers and mentors, he was it. And that there was nothing new going to come my way and all of that. And then probably I would have nothing new to teach, because if he didn't teach me something new, how would I have? I'd forgotten about life itself,
exactly.
by the way. I had
being your greatest teacher.
Skipped over that. Exactly. Oops. So and then something happened, and I began to wake up, and I began to think, I need to do something new. So I hired some people to do my website over again, which desperately needed doing, as they do, because we have to keep up with these things. And while I was preparing the new website, I started preparing some videos on the website for people to understand the defenses, because that was kind of my hurrah thing, the defenses. And no one had really written about the defenses the way I had, and I was very excited about them, and I remain excited, because we all are defensive.
Yes, that's true.
and that's okay. Defenses aren't our enemies until they are. But anyway, so I was doing these videos, and as I was doing these videos, I was making little 3x5 cards to sort of get organized, because I wanted to blow them out, because I'm very fast that way, and I only wanted to film for a few days, and I wanted to get them done, and they're only a few minutes each, and they're on my website, and I love them, and I'm very happy with them. But, however, as I was doing that, and I was writing about relationship, and I was doing videos on all sorts of things, including the defenses, and including relationships, and of course, love. So as I was doing that, I looked down at the end of this process, and I went, oh my God, that's my next book. And it's about love. Because really, from my perspective, there's nothing else to be talking about. Everything we talk about is about love. And there's only two things that there are in the world, and that's love and power. Everything that's not love is power. Every single thing that's not love is power.
Right. So love always lifts up and power always dominates.
I don't know that love always lifts up. I mean, love always instructs.
Okay, that's true.
But I don't know that it always lifts up. But it's certainly, when we defend against it, whether with feelings of being a victim, or feelings of being a vanquisher, or feelings of entitlement, or whatever our defensive system calls for,
very wisely, because those defenses grew us and helped us become the adults and the people that we are today.
Do those defenses come from a subconscious identity that's been formed? We have certain wounds and traumas that happen, and we form identities based in their subconscious. I mean, we don't carry them around in our conscious mind, but we also develop these defenses that seem like they become part of our personality.
Exactly.
And we move through life encapsulating ourselves by these defense mechanisms.
Yeah, so I believe that we're born with we're born into certain patterns, certain dynamics. We have these patterns coming in, and those are organic patterns. And on top of those organic patterns, we, because of who we are, we're introvert, we're extrovert, those kinds of things.
Right.
And then we're in a certain environment, and out of that environment, and due to our nature and what's going on in our nature, we develop a response to our environment. It depends on our culture, on our local family, on the time in which we're born.
Oh, it's huge, isn't it?
It's huge.
Yeah, the culture
Where
is huge.
are we? Yeah, I love the way we've now got so PC. Nobody's talking about culture anymore. We need to get over ourselves, because culture is so important.
I'm a baby boomer, so I mean that was a whole culture.
Oh my God!
Right there. My kids are still like living off of some of our culture, even though they have their own. So,
but you know, ethnicity and family matters. Historical matters. It does make a difference if you're black or white. It does make a difference if you're historical or Lithuanian. I mean,
Hispanic, not historical.
Hispanic, right? Maybe you're a historical Hispanic.
Yeah, a historical Hispanic,
right,
exactly.
or Lithuanian. Thank you. I mean, these things make a difference, but we like to ignore those anyway because we're all so busy girding our loins here.
Yes.
Girding our loins. But anyway, so then we develop these. We tell ourselves a story, and the story is usually something out of the wounding, like I don't deserve love.
Yes.
I'm too broken. I don't deserve love. Clearly, that's clear to me. And so then we develop a series of defenses to keep that story in place, to maintain our idea of ourselves. And much of my work is breaking down the defenses, getting to the crux of the matter, breaking down the defenses, shoving aside the curtain that stands between us and true self.
Right.
And that's what I'm really interested in, is true self. And for me, true self is love. The authentic voice is the love voice. And again, that doesn't mean, oh, baby, honey, baby, you know, it's authentic.
Usually far from it.
No, often far from it. It's the truth of who we are, and that includes all of our feelings. I'm not one of those teachers that says, oh, we should rise above our feelings. No. We should include our feelings.
All of them.
All of them. So our Love Matters, Find It, Fix It, or Let It Go, is about finding it, fixing what you've got, or letting go what wants to be let go of. And of course, it's about self-love, and it's about other love, and in some cases about divine love.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's right. Well, that's the problem.
Yes,
Half
it
the
is.
time.
Because you can't love anybody else until you've learned to love yourself.
Yes, and we do love our neighbors as we love ourselves.
Which is the sad. That's very sad.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that, you're talking about that place of authenticity. And once the curtain has been pulled aside, that's really the place of creativity. That's a place of vibrancy. That's the true gifting and calling that a person finds within themselves. And many times they live their whole life and never tap into why they're really here because of the wounding and the false identity and the defense mechanisms and all of that. But then there's always a frustration. There's that angst inside of a person. They feel it, but they don't know how to access it. And so you're here to help expose the real self.
Expose the real self. And it's a process, and it's not a moment. It's not instant soup. You know, we are so trained now to avoid presence. We're texting, and I do it too. We're texting, and we're interneting, and we're doing this, and we're doing everything but being here together. You know, as we're talking right now, I'm appreciating how much you're listening to me and how much you're attending. I can feel your attendance. And that means, believe me, I've been on the radio with people MIA the whole time. I'm answering a question, then they ask the question that I just answered a second earlier.
And in other words, they had an agenda and they weren't really connected to you.
Exactly. They had an agenda, and that's what we all do.
Right.
We have this agenda. And so what I'm interested in is teaching people how to be their authentic self and how to open to relationships. So relationship is an action. It's action, and love is action.
Yes, it is.
It's not an idea. I mean, if you were to tell me to define love, I don't think I could do it. And I've been working on a definition all my life, and that ain't a few years. I mean, I don't know. I was like, I love you. Everybody says that. We throw that term around as a
very cheaply, by the way.
One of my first training places was a shelter for abused women and children.
Okay.
And
that's my heart, by the way. I help with a domestic violence charity. So yes.
And I have some slightly different views from most people on this whole conversation, which I'm sure would go over very badly, so I won't bring them up. But anyway, I was working with, and they call up, and I said, so what's the story? Well, he beats me, and he drinks all our money, and he beats the children, and he leaves forever, and he takes my money and goes. I said, why do you stay with him? Because I love him.
Oh yes, I hear this.
And I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. And love, as I always say, love is the easiest part of relationship. It's the first thing to come, the last thing to go. Right. It's all the stuff in between that makes relationship work or not work.
When the woman says she loves him, she says, I'm afraid to go. I'm afraid to face life by myself.
That's right.
You were my ideal of what I thought was going to care for me and protect me. And though you've turned against me, I'm afraid to leave, so therefore I need to love you.
Yeah.
And rather than addressing those problems and getting away from the narcissist, the sociopath, or the psychopath, or just the very unhealthy person.
Well, I would say, having been I'm in now 27 years into this marriage, but I have been married a couple of brief times before, so it took me a while to figure it out. But not that I think I have it all figured out.
But it's a process.
It's a process.
It's
better.
Yes,
it's better.
A relationship.
I'm probably sticking with this one. So. But I was in a violent relationship, and what I learned out of that was the nature of my own inner hatred and violence, and how he reflected back to me a violence that lives inside me. So I think that's where our freedom comes. When we're pointing the finger outward, the old thing, there's 3 pointing back, and I always say I'm 1 pointing up too. We'll go everywhere with the blame, but where it belongs, really. And that's with us. We are the crux of our matter all the time, day and night. We are the crux of our matter. And if we want freedom, we need to get in touch with what's hurting inside of us. Why do I hate myself so much that it's okay for you to hit me? Why do I hate myself? Well, there's no good blaming you. You'll go on to whatever the next thing is. I need to know, am I going to pick another person like you? Guess what? I probably am, unless I free myself. Yes. And that's not about moving.
No.
It's not about getting away from you.
You take it with you wherever
you go.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Exactly. So I do think it's important, this conversation about love. Obviously, everybody's talking about it. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. The idea of this book, and what I'm so excited about, is that not only are there exercises, and another mentor of mine said to me, boy, Dr. Nikki, you've put everything you've ever learned in there, haven't you? I said, oh yeah, I wanted to get it all in, because I don't know if I'm going to write, I never know if I'm going to write another book, because I want to be present to now.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this. I'm so excited about it that I'm doing workshops. I do a lot of workshops anyway, but I'm doing workshops off of the book to support the book. I've had some wonderful support for the book from luminaries and all kinds of folks.
Right.
It's fun. I love my public work. I love going on these reality shows. And I've now discovered that if I teach with every line, they can't cut all the teaching out.
Right.
She's on the cutting room floor. Can't include everything if every line has a teaching.
Well, they do the little sound bites.
They do.
And they can put it together any way that they want.
They can, but usually they leave me whole.
That's good. Can I read a little bit from the back here?
Love it.
It says here, Dr. Nikki's new book, Our Love Matters, will lift you up. And that was written by Jane Lynch, who's an actor in Glee. It was the best show on Hollywood game night.
Best show, yeah.
Our Love Matters by Dr. Nikki Monty is a treasure trove of wisdom and practical. I love practical advice.
I'm very practical.
For creating a healthy, deep relationship. And that's something everybody wants, is to be deeply connected, to understand as well as to be understood. As the author states, a relationship is a great deal like chess, and I have to agree with that. It's easy to learn the rules and hard to play the game well. In this delightfully written book, you will learn how to discover and work with yourself and your partner to heal past the foreboding word, dysfunctional patterns.
Yeah.
And build a loving, secure relationship. How to prepare yourself for one if you're single. That's, I think, a lot of places where single people are afraid. We've been through so much rupture in the family system, so much divorce. I also went through divorce and raised my children alone for 20 years. So my children were the product of a single-parent household. And I listened to their wounds and their hurts and their fears and their concern for relationships, and they didn't have a proper role model. And I couldn't give it to them because one person is a single parent. You're not in a relational mother-father situation. So the author presents psychological principles in an easy-to-understand style and peppers the book with vitality and humor, which is so important. To me, humor is a sign of great intellect, by the way. Everything you need to know about relationships is in this book.
Isn't that exciting?
That's a key to healing society right now.
Really, it's true.
Because, we're in a society now where love has waxed cold. And it's next, rather than the investment of asking the hard questions, looking at ourselves and healing the wounds and going into that deep, dark place of the subconscious and finding out what the roots of the wounds are and eliminating them.
And excising those.
Yes.
Also, one of the concepts that I stand very firmly behind is the idea that everything isn't for everybody. We're in 2014. We are setting new rules. These little rule books that say don't call her for 3 days.
No, it's crazy.
No, they make me crazy.
Crazy. Yes, crazy.
Crazy. We have, first of all, relationship isn't for everybody. Marriage isn't for everybody. Children is not for everybody.
That needs to be said. Because people don't feel right. Well, what do you mean you've never had children? What do you mean you never got married?
I know. And it isn't for everybody. Corporations aren't for everybody, and entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Correct.
And how great, how fantastic, and how awful. So all the rule books have been burnt, really, and we have to get to find the soul of our relationship. What is our relationship? Are we going to be living in separate houses while loving each other? Are we going to be living together? Are we going to be married? Are we going to be... Now, that being said, I'm a personal fan, when it's appropriate, of marriage.
I am too.
And the reason I'm a fan of marriage is anybody who's been married knows it's not just a piece of paper.
No.
The deep psyche takes this very seriously.
Yes.
Which is why people can live together for 10 years, be married for 6 months, and get divorced.
Yes, it's a spiritual union. It's not just a physical
It
coming
is
together and sharing the bills. It's a spiritual union. You share your soul.
You share
your soul. Yes.
So I think, but it isn't for everybody. It's still, that being said, isn't for everybody. And I think it's so great to find out, who are you? Who am I? And you know what? I'm not a marrying person. I'm not going to do that. Or I'm better alone. I have clients I work with, and I know they're going to be alone. And I'll tell you how we know. The evidence is in the reality. It's not complicated. I remember years ago, this happens all the time. A woman came in, she said to me, I want a relationship. I said, okay, that's interesting. I understand. I hear this all the time. And so, when's your last relationship? Well, I haven't had a relationship for 20 years, I think.
Didn't want it that bad.
It might have been 10 years. I might be hyperbolic here. And so let's say 10 years. And I said, okay. So why do you think you want a relationship? Because I do. Well, here's what I want to tell you. You don't want a relationship. Right. How do I know that? Because you don't have one.
Right.
It's not complicated. Plumbers plumb, writers write, relationship people have relationships. Everyone can have a relationship if they want one. Of course, the road gets narrow, and as we move along and know more about ourselves, we're more selective, and there are less people to bring into our life for a relationship. So we still are making a choice, though. We can have a relationship if we really want one, and it's okay not to want one, or not to be ready, or to be too scared, or hesitant.
At least be honest.
At least be honest.
Yes.
Start there, because from there, change can happen.
Do you find, as people do this work of going into the subconscious and healing the root wounds and the identities that have formed, and they actually heal, do they tend to gravitate more towards a relationship or desire to bond with another person once they become more healed and they release the angers or the bitterness and the resentments?
Well, actually, I'd say it in a way the other way around, though I think that can also happen. I would say that people most of the time enter relationships in an unconscious hope to fix original wounds.
I've heard that for the last 30 years.
Yeah, there you go.
And I believe
we all can't be
true.
wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's what I call the magnet to the refrigerator effect. So if you put a magnet on a wall, it's going to fall off. But if you put it on a refrigerator, it's going to stick. So right material attracts right material. So we're drawn to people, we think, because they're cute or they're tall or they've got a good job. But really, underneath it, it's because there's a resonance with some material in us that wants to be healed.
Right.
And our psyche thinks we can heal secondarily, which we cannot. We have mother, father, child, we used to be. Those are the only relationships we're ever working with our whole life, either straight on or some combo pack. So, but that's good news because those are inside. All of our changes, all of our work about change can happen from the inside out. It doesn't happen from the outside in. And then a great relationship or a lousy, whatever it is icing on our cake.
Right. Yeah. We are living, excuse me, I feel like I'm going to sneeze just a moment.
You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that.
I'm glad I had permission.
Yeah, you're sneezing on the truth, they used to say.
There you go.
I've never understood that phrase, but that's what you do.
It's like, oh, okay. I just had to say
Oh,
it.
I hate that when you have to sneeze and then you don't. I hate when that happens.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay. You're okay.
I think you're okay.
Thank you. So, I mean, obviously, we live in a culture right now where I just find this to be a very timely message, being that we're at this particular crux in our culture here in this country. I'm sure it's, I don't know about, I mean, I've traveled and I see it in other countries too. I mean, I see the issues of, I just was in South America. I spent almost 3 weeks there, and I was working with women, and they have the machismo there and all the crumbling that's happened there, and the violence and the divorce and the single mothers and the infidelities ad nauseum. It was pretty severe, but the brokenness in the human psyche that is there. But it's no different here. We just call it something different here.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is that people are just, as you were saying, are so unhealed. So what vision do you have, right? I know you do, because you write books and you think and you talk and you live this, to get this out on a mass scale right now where, you know, you're going to have to replicate yourself, obviously, because there's just so many people on any given day that you can touch, to begin a movement, really. This needs to be a movement in our culture, and made very simple to understand, so people will. It takes work. It's not going to just happen through osmosis.
No,
you have to do the work and feel the pain. I'm sorry.
You know, it really is why I'm trying to talk more at a global level. I have, first of all, I'm extremely blessed because I've done some little TV here and there. I Skype with clients all over the world.
Awesome.
People contact me from everywhere, and I wish there were more. Frankly, I wish there were more, but. I always have said, for years I've said, I'm running a pyramid scheme. So, you know, I work on me to get me better. We work together to get you to know yourself more and to love yourself. And then you go out and you touch a few people today from a place of self-appreciation and self-knowledge and authenticity. And that ripples out, and that ripples out, and that ripples out. So I know that children don't get fed because we stuff envelopes and send them out to the world to pay money. I know that doesn't happen. We need to go out and feed those kids.
Yes.
Hand by hand.
Yes. No, I'm in agreement with that. You have to come with the food, not with the money.
You have to come with the food. It's the action. And so the
love attached to it.
And the love attached to it. And the only thing I know how to do is to keep, as I say, suiting up and showing up and hoping that, you know, I will get messages from people that I haven't seen for 20 years, 25, saying, you know, the work we did is still impacting me, and I pass it on to my children. My children are this because of the work we did. It's not me, and I'm not taking no credit. It's you. I have plenty of people I work with that do no work. I mean, they come and they sit and they want magic. They want me to wave a wand. I always say my wand's in the cleaners, you know. If you don't do the work, nothing happens, because it's not me. My life gets better all the time.
That is a mindset that has happened culturally with medicine, with psychology. It's not magic. You do have to do the work.
Yeah.
Well, today this has been Dr. Nikki Monty. What an exciting time to spend with you to talk about these topics. Please, Dr. Nikki, tell our viewing audience today how they can get a hold of you.
Well, there's several ways. One, go to my website, www.stucknomore.com. And also, I'm doing a workshop off of Our Love Matters, Find It, Fix It, or Let It Go. It's the second one at the Sportsman's Lodge on June 21st.
Okay.
And for your listeners, if we're going to do a drawing. If you sign up for the workshop, we're going to give a free workshop to somebody, some lucky person that signs up. So I hope that people will sign up. It's a good bang for your buck.
So what day of the week is that?
It's a Saturday.
So Saturday, June 21st at Sportsman's Lodge. That's on Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon. And what time?
It's going to start at 9 and it goes till 4:30.
9 to 4:30.
And we're even going to feed you.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to feed you emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, and physically.
Our love matters. So we're talking about paying it forward here.
Paying it forward.
So thank you again for being with us. And thank you for joining us today on Here's to Your Health. My name is Yvonne Beauvais. I'm your host today. And thank you for being with us once again on LA Talk Live, where we are more than just talk. And come back next Tuesday and join us again, same place, at 11:30 in the morning on Here's to Your Health, and we'll have a whole list of guests next week, just like today, that will be life-changing and informative, because we have real solutions for real problems here on Here's to Your Health.
Thanks
Have
so
a great
much.
day. Oh, my pleasure, Dr. Nikki. It was so much fun having you today. It was
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.